Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and welcome back to another episode of RT Recap, where I go through the reviews on a movie that just come out or is just coming out. This time, we're going to be going over Overlord, which just dropped today in theaters, and I need to get my butt to the theater to go see it this weekend. This is one I've been waiting for ever since it was announced as the original. Originally, it was basically titled as Cloverfield 4, right? Tying into the Cloverfield mythos. They since dropped that after the Cloverfield Paradox came out earlier this year and failed to impress in that regard. Even though I like Cloverfield Paradox, I can see the problems with it, and I understand why J.J. Abrams probably changed all this around and then announced that we were going to be getting an overall Cloverfield 2, which as a fan of the franchise made me very happy. But that still did not take away from my desire to see Overlord, because the trailer was freaking crazy, and I want to know just what the hell is going on. And apparently, I'm not the only one, because critics seem to really like it. Here with 78% Rotten Tomatoes score and an 85% score from the 779 audience members who've gone and see it. So those are pretty solid. The general consensus here says part revisionist war drama, part zombie thriller, part all-out genre gorefest. Overlord offers an A-level fun for B-movie fans of multiple persuasions. And that, to me, says a very, very, very good thing about what to expect out of this movie. This movie might know what it is. Again, I haven't seen it, but the reviews telling us, that it's good probably tells me that it did know what it was, that it did know what it wanted to be, and that it aimed for it and it knocked it out of the park. Now let's take a look here at the story, at the plot line of the movie. It says, with only hours until D-Day, a team of American paratroopers drop into Nazi-occupied France to carry out a mission that's crucial to the invasion's success. Tasked with destroying a radio transmitter atop a fortified church, the desperate soldiers join forces with a young French villager to penetrate the walls and take down the tower. But in a mysterious Nazi lab beneath the church, the outnumbered GIs come face to face with enemies unlike any the world has ever seen. From producer J.J. Abrams, Overworld is a thrilling, pulse-pounding action-adventure with a twist. And that sounds fucking awesome. It sounds like a video game that has no video game to back it up, right? Sounds like the kind of shit you would find in Blood Rain or the new Wolfenstein movies. Games, not movies, but games. And that seems pretty cool to me. I definitely love the concept. And for the general consensus from what I've seen is that description kind of aptly backs it up. That it knows what it is. It goes full on gore and violence, and it's oh yeah. Anyway, let's take a look here. But not everyone liked it. Not everyone liked it. And let's take a look at the top reviews that we see on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Emily Yoshida from New York Magazine here says, Overlord's problem is that it doesn't seem terribly interested in showing us who its villains are, and thus significantly mutes the satisfaction of watching them get flamethrowered to death. Now, this is a problem some movies have, especially Marvel movies have. Even though the two aren't related, but they have this problem of never establishing a good villain, one you love to hate, one you love to see destroyed. If you don't do that or do that poorly, it does have a negative impact on the audience viewing the film. Apparently, that's what Emily here is having an issue with. Even though she does enjoy watching them get flamethrowered to death, she doesn't really care. Think of The Thing. The Thing, you don't know who the villain is. You don't know who the alien is. And so but you know that the tension is ramping up. People are getting picked off one by one, and you understand the alien's motivations. It's an invading force. This one, maybe it doesn't have that simple of motivations. And it's stuff that maybe just was lost on Emily, or she just didn't get it. Now, Brian Lowry here from CNN says, the procedure isn't a complete success, but the movie wins a few battles in terms of its premise, energy, and style, if not the entire war. So basically saying there that the movie, it has its issues, but ultimately it nails what it wanted to say. And that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. Simon Abrams here from RogerEbert.com gives it a rotten review saying, a simple mechanism to deliver squib packs and swear words. Now, Simon, I understand you don't like squib packs and swear words. I, as a fan of practical effects in movies, fucking love them. And I get really tired when it's just digital blood everywhere and no actual squib packs. Those make up a movie in many, 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 many action fans' minds. If you just do fake blood, coming out of someone from a gunshot, it looks cool, but the mind registers it as fake. And so if you're trying to have a visceral, gore-filled experience, having fucking squibs and fucking gore makes fucking sense. Sure. Anyway, William Bibani from The Wrap here with a positive review says the angles are dynamic and jagged, framing the action for maximum shock value. It's as though the design philosophy for Overlord is trying to get banned in the 1950s, and it works. So to me, that says really over-the-top propaganda-style blood and violence, and that just makes me a lot happier to see the movie. Really, really, really does. Chris Nashawati from Entertainment Weekly here says, a surprising well-made mashup of old-fashioned war movie tropes and proudly disgusting horror flick shocks. It's a ton of fun. That should be on the freaking packaging right there. That's the quote right there. It's a well-made mashup of old-fashioned war movie tropes and proudly disgusting horror flick shocks. It's a ton of fun. I think that summarizes everything, right? It knows what it is. Yes, it's playing up old school tropes, but it's just giving you tons of violence and gore. What horror fans want, and I feel have been lacking in recent years as we get more of these horror movies that are more thrillers or psychological horrors or whatnot, rather than full-on gore fests that are made well. Now, Barry Hertz here from Globe and Mail gives it a positive review, saying, by the end, Overlord feels, if not greater than the sum of its Frankenstein parts, and at least a monster worth mashing. Good. That's good. That tells us that again, it's piecing together tons of things, but it does it in a way that is entertaining enough to enjoy. Chris Knight from the National Post here says, Overlord announces humbly but clearly that it has nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat, and brains. But let me ask you this. I mean, he gave it a positive review, so he's not negatively criticizing it there, I think, specifically. But I just kind of want to ask the question here. Does every movie have to have a political narrative? Does it have to have a message that it wants to tell? Can't movies just be dumb popcorn flicks that cover you in just buckets of blood and gore? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes that level of escapism is something people want, but don't get because we live in the age now of a highly politicized culture. And so people go into these things looking for it. Look at The Crimes of Grindelwald. Nobody wanted to say that it's an anti-Trump movie, but it's kind of framed as an anti-Trump movie. And again, that's the filmmaker's prerogative, but it's like, be upfront about it. Michelle Kisner from the Movie Sleuth here says, while both zombie movies and World War II period films are overdone, Overlord still manages to have some fun left, even though it doesn't attempt to subvert any of the tropes inherent in either one of those genres. Well, she gives it a 3 out of 5 rating, which is good, but those tropes need to be subverted. Look, we're not all Rian Johnson. We're not all making The Last Jedi. What happens when you subvert tropes there? You get a civil war amongst fans and ultimately leading to fewer box office results. There's nothing wrong with not subverting tropes, but playing them up and playing them to a grandiose level. Now, I don't know if Overlord does that because I haven't seen the movie yet, but that to me just comes across as nitpicking. Don't nitpick it. Don't. Now, here's a bad one. Steve Newton from Georgia Straight here says, quite wanting as far as the writing and acting goes. Okay, so you didn't like the writing or the acting, but how about the gore and the violence, the blood, the destruction, the flamethrowers, the zombies, the World War II settings, the aesthetics, the art direction, the technical direction, the cinematography, the directing? Sir, I ask you those questions. Rolando Gallego here from Escribiendo Cine, I can't pronounce it, I apologize, gives it a rotten one, 4 out of 10, saying the film loses its initial force by stopping to explain Nazism to millennials and simplifies the Allied victory and underestimates the public in it's trying to aim to. I don't know, man. I think at this point in time, we kind of know what happened in World War II. Many movies, many video games are going to come out and summarize the events in ways that people are going to take. So if it just goes, listen, we're gonna like explain why Nazis are bad, fascism is bad, that's fine. That's pretty easy to do. And then if it simplifies the Allied victory, that one kind of hurts the brain actually, because I'm just going to sit there and wonder if you applied the same logic to Inglourious Bastards, which was obviously fiction. Right? It was a fairy tale version of World War II written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It even starts off with the tagline, once upon a time in Nazi occupied France. That's how the movie started. Did you go into Inglourious Bastards expecting history? It's revisionist history. This is revisionist history. That's nitpicking in Spanish. Anyway, sorry. Jeremy Johns here says, treats itself as a war movie first. It's actually more intense than a lot of war movies, giving it a positive review. Good on you, Jeremy Johns. Okay, he likes it. Finally, though, with a rotten review here from Ed Potton from the Times UK, says Avery seems unsure of what to do and settles for mindless piling on the gore the writers appear to give up to. And I think that's kind of unfair. If you're going for gore, which it does seem to be, a lot of these positive reviews are definitely pushing towards the gore factor, that they understood that's the angle they wanted to play. One could argue that it just makes sense that this is the angle you want to take. So I would sit there and probably say, like, that doesn't really matter so much. I mean, obviously you're going into this movie for gore and for violence and World War II settings and zombies and flamethrowers and things like that. I think going into this movie for either a subtle political message, going into it to accurately represent what happened in World War II, even though it's got zombies, is very much a dumb thing. I think going into this, understanding what it is, understanding what it's trying to be, which is nothing more than a zombie pulp World War II gory drama thriller / fun time, is fine. But I feel like there's reviewers here that are trying to put themselves in the role. They're trying to put themselves in their review and trying to say, this is what I wanted to see, versus actually analyzing what the film was and how it presented itself. But it does look like most enjoyed it. The audience seems to like it. Most reviewers seem to like it. This is what it is. So if you've seen it, let me know in the comments. Keep it spoiler free. If you've made it this far in the chat, type Overlord, so I know you guys made it. And I'll be trying to see it this weekend if I can, and I'll put a review out on $3 Reviews. Link below to subscribe to that channel in the video description. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.